Ladies and gentlemen, hello, and welcome to this new episode of Sudan in Focus weekly news magazine, which focuses on Sudan news and events, aims to give the Sudan TV audience a broad and first-hand information about what is going on in Sudan. So let's go.
The chairman of the Transitional Sovereign Council, the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, met in his office with the Secretary-General of the Great Lakes Organization, Ambassador John Samuel Kahulu, in the presence of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Hussein Awad Ali. The President of the Sovereign Council expressed Sudan's thanks and appreciation for the efforts of the organization and its support for Sudan, and stressed the need for the organization and other organizations to reflect the reality of the situation in Sudan without distortion.
I was fortunate this afternoon to be received by His Excellency General Burhan, the President of the Sovereign Council and President of the Sudan this afternoon. We came to pay courtesy call on His Excellency to express the solidarity of ICGLR with the people of Sudan and the concerns that we have on the pertaining situation in the Sudan. As you know, ICGLR held an extraordinary summit last year on the situation in Sudan and expressed themselves in no uncertain terms as to what must happen to bring a definite ceasefire and bring all this wanton destruction of human life, of infrastructure to an end.
The President of the Transitional Sovereign Council, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Lieutenant General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, met today in his office with a delegation of the Sant'Egidio community, headed by the Director of International Relations at the organization, Mario Giro. The Director of International Relations of the Sant'Egidio community said in a press statement to the organization, good relations with Sudan since the 90s, and we have presented many projects in the field of interfaith dialogue and humanitarian work.
I am Mario Giro. I am the head of International Relations Community of Sant'Egidio, that is a well-known international Catholic community dealing with interreligious dialogue, humanitarian work, and political mediation. We are here because we are friends of Sudan since the 90s. We were involved in Darfur, we were involved for South Sudan, and we are friends of Sudan since a long time. We met President Burhan 2 years ago, and now we are here also in difficult moments to witness our friendship and to discuss every possibility that
The Chairman of the Transitional Sovereign Council and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Lieutenant General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, briefed today the WCC delegation on the efforts of the government of Sudan to bring peace to Sudan. This came during his meeting with the delegation of the World Council of Churches headed by Bishop Rufus Okikiola. Bishop Rufus said in a press statement that the delegation provided an enlightenment to the President of the Council about their visit to Sudan and their standing on the situation of churches in the country after the attacks they were subjected to by the rebel Rapid Support Militia, stressing the solidarity of the World Council of Churches with Sudan and its people in facing the challenges they face targeting their security and stability.
My name is Dr. Rufus Oshitelu, the World Council of Churches President from Africa. We are very delighted as a delegation of the World Council of Churches, All African Conference of Churches, FECLAHA, and some humanitarian organizations that came with us. We are very happy and appreciative that the President received us, and we have told him our mission. Our mission, first of all, is to solidarize with the people of Sudan. We want peace to reign in all Africa, particularly here in Sudan. And we are grateful to the President because he told us the roadmap of his administration, of the government, how peace can be achieved. and we have offered our help to assist the people of Sudan and the government of Sudan to achieve just peace. And this is our mission, and we are very grateful to the people. Since we arrived, the people of Sudan has been very hospitable. They assisted us, they accommodated us, and we are grateful for that. And we are praying that very soon peace will reign in Sudan.
The chairman of the Transitional Sovereignty Council, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Lieutenant General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, met in his office with the delegation of Al-Buni Amir in the Red Sea state. The President of the Sovereign Council praised the efforts of glasses, columns and sheiks in peaceful coexistence and raising the value of the homeland and raising its status. For his part, Mohammed Ali Mahmoud, Under-Secretary of the Principal of Al-Buni Amir in the Red Sea state, said in a press statement after the meeting that the delegation congratulated the chairman of the Transitional Sovereignty Council on the occasion of Eid al-Fitr and on the victories achieved by the armed forces in their battle against the rebel terrorist Rapid Support Militia.
كان لقاء طيب.
Deputy Chairman of the Transitional Sovereignty Council briefed Malika Kar Air on the efforts made by the Ministry of Health to provide medicine and health consumables and its plan to confront diseases and epidemics. During his meeting with the Minister of Health, Dr. Haytham Mohammed Ibrahim, His Excellency received a report on the Ministry's work and plan in the first quarter of this year, stressing the importance of working to provide all medical services to citizens and provide medical supplies. A member of the Sovereignty Council, Lieutenant General Naval Engineer and Advisor Ibrahim Jaber, chaired today the meeting of the Supreme Committee for dealing with the United Nations mission. The meeting touched on the importance of highlighting statistics on the humanitarian work carried out in Sudan, weaknesses and shortcomings, and stressed the need to activate diplomatic work and effort in pivotal diplomatic stations. The meeting stressed the need to activate the media plan to confront humanitarian aid claims for other purposes and control internal and external discourse, especially with regard
Sudan's representative to the United Nations, Ambassador Al-Harith Idris, called on the UN Security Council to condemn the UAE for fueling the war in the country by supporting the Rapid Support Militia based on the report of the experts on Darfur, which proved with irrefutable evidence the UAE's involvement in supplying the Rapid Support Militia with weapons.
Against Sudan, its people, its government, and its armed forces began a year ago. It's also a war against Sudan's women, girls, boys. And yet we ask for just one thing, one main thing, that is call the sponsors of this war by their name. We shouldn't say who they are implicitly, we should do so explicitly. Yesterday, the representative of Algeria, when speaking on behalf of the A3+ countries, that is, the Algerian ambassador, when he was making a statement at the previous council meeting, he called for the aggressors to be named and condemned for the conflict to end. As you know, Sudan has been combating impunity, but you, the Security Council, would be better placed to take practical steps against those parties who are providing weapons and exacerbating the situation.
Ambassador Harith Idris stressed during his address to the Security Council session on Friday evening that the UAE support is still continuing.
However, the RSF are using javelins, 148 javelins, anti-tank javelins. There is a video, in fact, which shows the militia, shows the RSF using these missiles in Khartoum. What we also found, this was last year, is cutting-edge missiles in RSF facilities, on RSF premises. These missiles didn't simply fall from the sky. They were given They were given to the RSF to undermine stability in Sudan. For that reason, these weapons, it would appear that the regional sponsors of this war have decided to give these weapons to the militia to help them wage this war. The sponsors are secretly talking to the RSF.
Ambassador Al-Harith Idris said that Sudan rejects the presence of the UAE in any negotiations aimed at a peaceful settlement of the conflict.
The UAE sponsored the aggression, sponsored the war. The UAE must be stripped of any role in Sudan's future. They must not be able to enjoy the fruits of peace. We are initiating proceedings and we do expect a response from the Council. We are committed to protecting civilians. Without a doubt, you heard the slogans from Durman and Al Jazeera State. These people called for one people, one army.
Sudan's speech before the Security Council put the members of the Security Council on their responsibilities towards the aggression to which Sudan is subjected, supported by regional and international parties that contribute to fueling the war and the crimes committed by the terrorist militia al-Dagalo.
A scene all too familiar in West Darfur. Social media footage widely circulated last week showing RSF soldiers and supporting militia rounding up men, harassing them, threatening them. CNN has been able to geolocate these videos, placing them in Ardamata, an outlying district of El Jinena, the capital of West Darfur, where some of the worst atrocities during the recent war have taken place. Over the last year during the war in Sudan, the RSF have targeted members of African tribal groups, including the Masalit, who claim Darfur as their ancestral land. Many of the RSF belong to tribes which, unlike the Masalit, claim Arab ancestry. What we're about to show you is very disturbing. These are the most recent images emerging from Darfur. What you are looking at is a mass grave filled with over a dozen bodies. Some are alive, others clearly dead. One man can be seen throwing earth on top of another, even though he is still alive. A man off camera can be heard shouting as someone appears from beneath a pile of dirt. He quickly buries his head back into the earth. We don't know the fate of these men. It's also unclear whether the men seen in the ditch are the same men as those in the video running from RSF soldiers and militia loyal to the RSF. But it does illustrate the newest, most horrific pattern of violence in the region. Communication in Darfur has been deliberately choked by the RSF. It's been excruciatingly hard to understand exactly what's happening there. A few months ago, we traveled to a refugee camp in Adre, Chad, where survivors and eyewitnesses of these brutal attacks were able to cross the border. One by one, brave survivors came forward wanting to share, to document what has happened to them, describing the horrors from the city of El Jinena, stories of rape and enslavement.
From within our family, we lost more than 40 men.
They said to my father, "We're going to rape your daughter in front of you." The RSF said, "Leave these ones. We will find better ones to sell. These ones, let's rape them."
Textbook ethnic cleansing. These are the hallmarks of genocide. CNN interviewed over a dozen survivors and eyewitnesses in El Jinena, where civilians were targeted and where women were being sold from slave houses.
There were RSF soldiers outside, and they beat me until they forced me into the building. Inside, I saw 9 or 10 girls, some without clothes. They told us they will sell us.
Sudan is the biggest country in all over the world, produces sorghum. Most subsistence cultivators produce sorghum as their staple crop. That for the area of arable lands, which estimated around 1.9 million acres of irrigated land on the River Nile bank. And in the other states of Sudan, north of the country, Kordofan, Central Sudan, Darfur, where rainfall or other water sources were sufficient for cultivation. Sorghum, Sudan grass, or Sodex, is the hybrid of forage sorghum and Sudan grass. Both are high-producing, rapidly growing, warm-season annual summer crop, while most annual and perennial grasses grows best under high temperature. In addition to forage production, this crop can also increase soil organic matter, control weeds, fight against nematodes, losing compact subsoils, and enhance drought tolerance. Sorghum is very important crop, particularly the brown midrib BMR. BMR varieties have a higher leaf to stem ratio and a lower lignin content, making them more digestible and providing more energy for heifer growth and milk production. For many members of the sorghum genus, there is concern for hydrocyanic and nitrate poisoning. However, Sodex can be harvested as hay, green chop, and silage, and it can also be grazed. Cutting height for hay, haylage, and green chop is 6 to 8 inches above the ground to allow for regrowth and avoid killing plants. However, livestock start grazing when plants are between 18 to 40 inches tall. This will help prevent trampling down of feed and selective grazing. As with most crops, many factors affect yield and quality, such as planting date, variety, soil conditions, irrigation, nutrient availability, and so forth. As per the Minister of Agriculture in the annual conference on 18 April 2024 said Sudan is the country of opportunities in spite of the war and violations. Sudan productivity of sorghum in 2023 was 5.200 million tons, and in 2024 was 3 million tons, despite of war. So Sudan will not starve. This is our catchword. Moreover, he added, the Minister of Agriculture, Sudan have more than 50,000 big projects and more than 150,000 medium and small projects, such as Al Jazeera project, Al Rahad project, Al Souki project, New Halfa project, Delta Al Gash project, Delta Tokar project, and more. So Sudan will not starve, and Sudan is a world food basket. Honestly, just we have to work very hard.
The River Nile is considered as one of the longest rivers in Africa, that covering a large distance in Sudan. The Blue Nile originates from Tana Lake, which is located in the Ethiopian highlands eastern of African continent. Tana Lake feeds it with 70% of its revenue on average. It meets the Rahad and Dindi rivers inside Sudanese territory. The River Nile has two main tributaries, the White Nile and the Blue Nile. The Nile is the source of the Nile itself, or the most distant source, while the Blue Nile is the source of most of the water in the river, as it contains 68% of the water. The White Nile is longer than the Blue Nile and originates in the Great Lakes region of Central Africa, while the most distant tributary, the White Nile, follows from Victoria Lake. The White Nile and the Blue Nile meet in the Sudanese capital. Victoria is the primary source of the White Nile. The Atbara River is the last tributary of the River Nile. It is located in the northeastern Sudan and is about 800 kilometers long from its sources in the Ethiopian highland. The Gash River originates in the Eritrean highlands, and one of its characteristics is that it does not flow into sea, ocean, or lake of water, but rather its waters spill over sandy plain. In the dry season, it's a wide sandy valley.
عالسلام